and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. Today I'm going to start by reviewing some of the timing that I've taught you just to kind of get you in gear, and then I'm going to do another song with you. So if you look at this chart right here, that's good. Remember that usually when you're reading music, it's going to be in 3/4 time, or it's going to be in 4/4 time, or it's going to be in 6/8 time. Those are the three most common time signatures that are used. And I'm going to focus on 3/4 and 4/4. Remember, when you look at the signature, the time signature, the top number is the number of beats in a measure, and the bottom number is the kind of note. So this would be 3 quarter notes. 4 equals the quarter, so 3 quarter notes. If you're looking at 4/4 time down here, 4 beats to a measure equivalent to 4 quarter notes. Now, it's not like you write quarter notes all the way through. You can subdivide, but when you get finished, it has to be equivalent to what the time signature is. So let's go on the 4/4 first, because this is what I think we'll be dealing with the most. A whole note is just a circle that equals 4 beats. 2 half notes equal 2 beats each. Together, they equal the whole note. You just split them in half. You split the half note and you get quarter notes. There are 4 quarter notes to a half note. I mean, so 4 quarter notes that equal the whole note, 2 half notes that equal the whole note, the 4 quarter notes equal a whole note, and then when you split those in half, when you split the quarter notes in half, you get eighth notes. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then when you get down here, there's each dotted eighth and 16th equals 1 beat. Now, I explained before why that happens. I'm not going to explain it right here, so just trust me with it. It's not the easiest thing to explain, but this is 1 beat, this is 1 beat, this is 1 beat, this is 1 beat. So if you had a measure with dotted eighths and 16ths, it's still going to equal 4. A 4 rest, if you wanted to rest and you're not playing, but this is a rest, it'll hang down. It's like a little square that hangs down from the 4th line up. And then you get the single rest. This is 1 beat rest, 2 beat rest, 3 beat rest, 4 beat rest. When you're dealing with rest, you're dealing with the same value as if you were playing notes. Then if you take your 8th notes and you split them, you're going to get 16th notes. So this is 1 beat. This is another beat. You can write them different ways, but they have to have 2 flags on them. And this is another way, this is another way. Now, I just put this down, different ways of writing things. The main body of a note, this is the body of the note itself. And this would be the stem. All of these are stems. And then when you get the little lines across, those are considered to be flags. So this is a flag right here. Here's the whole body of the note. Here's the stem. Here's the flag. And if it has 2 flags, that's going to be a 16th note. Now, I could go on from here, but I won't, because we won't be playing it. It'd be a little more complicated than what we're ready to do in here. But you can take your 16th notes and you can split them and make 32nd notes, and you would have 3 flags. This line here is considered, these 2 lines are considered to be a flag. Then you could take your 36 notes and you could split them and get 64ths, and you would have 4 flags. It gets fairly complicated, but you can see from this that music is very, very mathematical. And so I will review this with you every so often. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me, and I will just spend time and explain it. Now, what I want to do now, we're going to play this piece right here. Maybe I should. Yeah, that's better. Thank you. When you look at this, this is 4/4 time. This is your treble clef. This is your key signature. The key signature are the number of flats or sharps you have. This is in the key of G because it has one sharp to it. If I added a sharp, then it would be in a different key, but G has one sharp. So your clef is treble, your time signature is 4/4, your key signature is one sharp. That's all in the music before you even begin. And this is like a march. I wrote it like a march. I actually wrote it a couple days ago. When I write music, I'll just be doing my usual thing, you know, whatever it is. And all of a sudden the song comes to me, and it doesn't come to me in pieces. I get the whole thing. And it depends, some composers do it different ways, but I get the whole thing. It's in my mind, you know, and I think about it, and I kind of ruminate on it. Then I may pick up an instrument and see if I can play what I'm hearing in my head, and I usually can, and then I sit down and I write it. If that ever happens, you need to sit down and you write it, and you need to sit down right away and write it, because if you wait, you're going to lose the melody and you can't get it back. I've heard writers say the same thing. One of my friends who's an author says that, I get these visitations, she says, and I get these ideas and I can write it, but if I don't write it down then, I'll lose it and I can't get it back. And that's the way it is sometimes with creativity. So this song came to me a couple days ago, and it's not, you know, I'm not a Chopin or anything like that. But the thing is, if you get a melody, the way to learn how to compose, if you get a melody, you write it down. I'll show you, I'll do a special segment on how that works. But you have to understand what the notes are and the timing before you can actually do that. Okay, so I'm going to play this. I'm not going to play it fast. It's like a march. Now, let me explain a couple things. When you get, some of these runs are a little hard. This is a little hard, but it sounds pretty good. When you get here, there's a little dot. That little dot is called a stinger, right above that G. I don't know if you can see it there, but anyway, it is in there. And that means you cut that note short. It's like a staccato note, but because it is the last note, and a lot of marches have it, because it's the last note, it's called a stinger. You play and then boop, just that last note, that's a stinger. And this shows that the piece has ended. All of the bars are for 4/4 time. If we had to count this out, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can go, it's practically the same thing repeated. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4. When you get down here, it's a little bit harder, and I should probably play that a little bit slower. When you get, I'm going to start right here on that E and play part of this, maybe not the whole thing. I've got to find my place. Okay. Now you have this F sharp in the key signature, so therefore you play an F sharp unless it's marked differently. So right here, it's marked differently. It's a natural. What's the difference between playing that sharp and playing the natural? Well, it's important to the song that that be changed to a natural instead of a sharp. So let me show you how to do that. If I get the instrument out, here is F sharp, and the F natural. Remember what we have learned. is a Baroque instrument. But this would be B, A, G, F, E, D. So if this was a German instrument, because it's Baroque, you need another finger down for that F. There's a little tiny bit of difference in the pitch of it. So let's say it's a German. This is the F. To get the F sharp, you pick this finger up, you put this finger down. This stays down for the F, but since you want it sharp, you lift it up and you put the second one, and this F is left uncovered. That's your F sharp. That's your F natural. And in here what we're doing, we are changing what would be an F sharp because it's in the key signature, and we're making it a natural. And I've done that here too. I've done it in more places. I've done it right here, 3 or 4 places. When you get a note that's different than what the key signature says it's going to be, it's called an accidental. And when you have an accidental, it goes for the whole measure. So if I were to, just as an example, if I were to take this, let's see, D, E, E, D, E, E, supposing I wanted this to be an E flat or something, I put in the accidental, it would be a flat mark instead of sharp. And then for all of the others, all the way through that measure, they're also sharp or flatted, whatever it is I wanted to do. So to get it back, I have to put in another sign, and that puts it back to the original. F natural, because it would be a sharp, and that becomes an accidental. This is E, D, C, B, A, D, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D. So it's like a scale, and you need to practice it slow to begin with. Now the importance of tonguing. You have to tongue. If you can't tongue, you can't play. Now, I tell myself I write simple songs, but this is probably a little bit more difficult. But it's scale work. You need to learn what your scales are. The scales that we use the most is going to be a G or an F, C. This happens to be a D scale. It happens to be a D scale. It's got two sharps to it. There's your F sharp. There's your C sharp. Recorders play C sharp a lot just by using the first 2 fingers. The thumb is off. You don't have your thumb hole covered, and you don't have anything else. When you put your just this number, just this finger, your middle finger, and nothing else, that's your high D. And then you put your thumb on the thumb hole, that's your C. And you want that C sharp. You see what I did? Here is your C, and then C sharp would be this finger down, the thumb up, and then for the D, everything up except this finger. Now you have to be careful how you do that. I don't teach the higher notes to students when they're first beginning because it is so easy to drop the instrument. What balances the instrument? When you get it up here, What's balancing it? Well, I don't have my thumb down, but what I could do is put my thumb below the tone hole so it's not covering the tone hole. That would help its balance. Or I can take my right little pinky finger, and that holds the instrument down so it doesn't flip up on you, but it's not being used. It's not covering a hole, so it's not being used for anything. Now, a lot of times I use alternate fingerings because sometimes I think it's just plain easier. Like, for example, I've shown you this before, but I guess it bears repeating. Here's your C, and here's your C, and your D. Now the flute plays that D just like this. So if I have my fingers and I'm playing a low D, to get an octave, lift this finger, you'll get an octave. Is that easier than going? Well, it depends upon whether the instrument can do it. The instruments I have are not terribly expensive, but they're good instruments. And an instrument that is good can sometimes do things that an average instrument just can't do, because the pitch got to be right. If the pitch isn't right, you can't do it. So a lot of times, I have written out classical music for recorders. I use it as a solo instrument a lot. A lot of times you'll see groups of people playing recorders and they all blend in so nicely and they sound good and they are good. But I like to use a recorder as a solo instrument because you can play so much on it and most people don't realize it. I can play, I play classical music on a recorder just like this. But like, for example, if I'm going to play the Alleluia Chorus from Handel's Messiah, and I've done it, I will take the alto part and I will take the soprano part and I will combine them together and I will arrange them so I'm kind of bouncing back and forth, but it's something that the recorder can do. And that's important to remember. You can do a lot more with a recorder than you think you can. And so you try to make it as easy as you can. So a flute will play a D like this. Recorder can do it if the instrument is able to do it. Otherwise, and this saves a lot of this business, you know. I've had instruments dropped, students drop instrument. You have to know how to handle the instrument. You have to know how to balance the instrument. Some of the larger instruments, they actually have straps attached. I have a bass recorder that's like 3 feet or so long. I've had it in here before. There's a strap that goes with it that helps balance it when you're playing some notes. And it's heavy too, so it's good to have that support. So I'm going to play this again. I'm not going to play it fast. And if you watch the music, try to see if you can follow what I'm doing, because you can play a lot of really nice music on the recorder. You just have to know how to do it. Remember, you've got to learn how to tongue. I can't play anything like this without tonguing. And when you tongue, you put the instrument in your mouth about 1/3 of the way, and then it's like your tongue hits the top of the mouthpiece, and so it's like a staccato sound. It's like you're saying ta or ti or something like that. So you make the notes separate from each other, and they're not just going into one another. Sounds awful. Sounds better, but you also got to remember one more thing, and then I'll close. When you get a note, you hold that note until the next note is played. You don't take big breaks. When I taught one of my flute students, she was breaking before every note. Then that's not necessary and it doesn't sound good. You just hold the note until the next note is supposed to be played, and then you play that note. You're not taking breaks. You go adding one note to the other in a clear way. That's what the tonguing does, but they don't run into each other, so they're mishmashed together. You can play really beautiful music on a recorder. You just have to know how to do it. You have to get the sense of it, and you have to be able to tweak it a little to make it do more than what it can do. I do that all the time. So I'm going to close it here. We'll be doing something else next time. Please join me then.